मंडलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। सर्वेभ्यो नमः। सर्वेषां कृते स्वागतम्। I will begin with a recap of what we did in the last session. Ittham yashoda tamasesha shekharam matva sutam sneha nibaddhadhir nrupa aste grihitva saharamamachyutam nitva swavatam kritavat. So this shloka from the Srimad-Bhagavatam, Dashama Skanda, the 11th chapter, and it's the 20th shloka. This describes Mother Yashoda. So she had been trying to bring the two boys, Krishna and Balaram, back home. They were away to play. So she went out there and she kept calling them, please come back. So she tried giving them different reasons why they should come back. But they refused to come back. They pretended as if she was not there. They kept playing. So finally, thinking of Krishna as her own son. Okay, Krishna is actually Ashesha Shekhara, means the complete person, a person without remainder, the best among such people. Aste grihitva, she caught hold of him by her hand, and she caught hold of Balaram by the other hand, and she brought them to her house, and she did what a mother has to do, gave them a bath, dressed them up, fed them, etc. So we ended with this shloka in the last class from the Bhagavatam in Krishna Lila. We also studied the Bhagavad Gita. In the 14th chapter, we studied 5 shlokas in which these things came up. We were talking about the qualities of the 3 gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. The 3 gunas are like the 3 ropes used to bind the living being in the material existence in samsara. Of them, sattva is the best because sattva is purifying, it is non-troublesome, it is illuminating, it favors the cultivation of knowledge, it gives happiness, it gives strength, it gives energy, and so on. It has all the positive qualities. Somebody who wants to be filled with positive thoughts must cultivate sattva in them. But unfortunately, in today's world, a lot of people are driven by rajas. And rajas is characterized by excessive craving and greed for material expansion, material wealth, attributes, etc. So these include material possession, and rajas is misery producing, means it may seem to give happiness in the short term, but in the longer term, it only gives misery. And there are many people in tamas too. Tamas, under the influence of tamas, there is darkness, there is lack of clarity in the mind, there is confusion. Ignorance means mistaking the right thing for the wrong thing and the wrong thing for the right thing. Negligence, delusion, and intoxication. There is laziness, there is sleep. All these qualities constitute the influence of tamas. Now, we also read in the last class that those who leave the body, means at the end of life, when we die, it is also said to be leaving the body. We leave the body and we go to another birth. So those who leave the body in a state of sattva, when sattva is predominant, then they attain a existence where they are born among other people like them, who are also in a high state of sattva and who have the highest knowledge, who are clear in their mind, who possess knowledge. Those who leave the body in rajas, they go to a state of existence where there are people like them who are greedy, materialistic, etc. And similarly, those in tamas will take birth among those who are ignorant, misguided. And those with excessive tamas will take birth as animals or even as plants. So we studied all this in the last session. Now continuing from there, the next 5 shlokas in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 16th shloka, Sri Bhagavan says, Karmanah sukritasyahuhu satvikam nirmalam phalam rajasastu phalam dukkham ajnanam tamasah phalam. So he's talking about now the activities we do. Depending on the type of activity we do, we are entitled to the fruits, and the activities therefore can be classified as sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic, and they give the respective fruits. So he's saying karmanaha sukritasya, of sattvic activities, the fruits will be sattvic in nature. And what is meant by sattvic fruits? Fruits which are pure, or results which are pure or non-troublesome, which give happiness, which are sustainable over a long period of time, which energize us, which make us feel contented. Such kind of fruits come to a person who engages in sattvic activities. What is meant by sattvic activities? Activities which are aligned to dharma. Okay, for example, in today's world, in our present life, in the context of our life, the way we live, simple things like getting up early in the morning, doing some good exercise with clean air, surrounded in a clean environment with clean air, maybe going for something as simple as a walk, eating clean sattvic food, like food which is pure vegetarian, plant-based food without onion, garlic, mushrooms, without any intoxicants. Even, for example, ideally, even things like tea and coffee are considered to be intoxicating. The alternatives are like herbal tea and so on, which are not intoxicating, which are more sattvic. Similarly, in terms of our lifestyle, not working too hard, not burning ourselves out, working hard enough to do justice to our duty, but not working excessively hard, by which we burn out, we are totally exhausted at the end of the day, keeping our mind always calm, unstressed, and keeping a balance between work life and personal life, having time to spend with our family, our friends, and engaging in constructive activities with them, like, for example, studying the Shastra, reading the Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavatam, or the Puranas, or Itihasa like Ramayana, Mahabharata. If this is done on a daily basis, then these activities combined together create a very sattvic mentality. It brings us under the influence of sattva. And therefore, and because of them, we end up getting outcomes which are also sattvic, which give us happiness, which make us content, and so on. Rajasic activities are activities which are driven by greed. A person burns themselves out, does much more than what is required to maintain oneself happily, wants to earn more and more, become more powerful, and therefore does a lot of hard work, a lot of excessive hard work. Hard work is not bad. I'm not condemning hard work. I'm only condemning excessively working without giving rest, sufficient rest. And therefore, eventually, in the short term, it may give returns like more money, promotion, etc. But in the longer term, it only leads to misery. Okay, even recently we heard the case of a young woman in Ernst and Young losing her life because of the excessive work, and the organization says merely that we have not given her anything different from what our other employees do. Our other employees also work that hard, and it's unfortunate that she could not take it. So Rajas seems to cause happiness in the short term, but it gives misery in the longer term. And in extreme cases like that lady, it leads to death. Then dukkham ajnanam. So ajnanam tamasaha phalam means when the influence of tamas is high, activities like, for example, sleeping too much, drinking alcohol, eating food like which is very stale, or food which is fermented, over fermented, um, intoxicants like alcohol, uh, drugs, meat, non-vegetarian food. So these kind of things, they increase or they produce tamas in us. Because of tamas, the mind becomes heavy, clear thinking goes away, and absorption in knowledge, attraction towards knowledge decreases. One is more interested in activities like sleeping or just whiling away time doing nothing. One loses motivation in life, one loses sense of clarity in life. So all of these things, like the lack of clarity about what to do, clarity of purpose, um, confusion, depression, the sense of depression, feeling very depressed, very sad, these are all effects of tamas. When somebody has these things, or when we have these things, we should know that tamas is now very strong, strongly acting upon us. So whichever guna we are in, we should try to increase the sattva in us, because sattva is what takes us towards a higher state of existence and gives us happiness. That is what Sri Bhagavan teaches in the Gita. The fruit of sattvika activity is sattvika, free from impurity. The fruit of rajasic activity is misery, while that of tamasic activity is ignorance. Sattvat sanjayate jnanam, rajaso lobha evacha, pramadamोहौ tamaso, bhavato jnanam evacha. So from sattva, jnana, knowledge is produced, or knowledge is a result of being sattvic. Naturally, when one is sattvic, one seeks out knowledge, and because one's mind and intellect are geared towards it by virtue of being a sattvic, one is able to absorb that knowledge easily and realize the meaning of that knowledge. One is able to live that knowledge. And so, sattva produces knowledge. Rajaso lobha evacha. Because of the influence of rajas, more and more greed. Greed keeps increasing. Greed is something that never dies. What is meant by greed? How is greed different from desire? Desire means the want for something. Greed means the excessive want, the feeling that even if get that, I'm not content. Even after getting what we get, we are not content. That is a symptom of greed. We want more of that thing. And even if after getting more of that thing, we want even more. So the relentless want for the same thing and never being content with that thing, which actually is adequate for us for all purposes, practical purposes, is called greed. So similarly, the effect of tamas, pramada moha. Pramadam means inadvertence, moha means delusion, and so on, like sleep, nidra, alasya. So these are things which Sri Bhagavan said in the earlier shlokas, but he keeps repeating them in order to make it very clear. The same point is repeated multiple times to make it clear, to drive it inside us. So tamas leads to these things. From sattva, pure knowledge is born. From rajas, greed results, and from tamas, inadvertence, delusion, and ignorance are produced. Urdhvam gachanti sattvastaha, madhye tishtanti rajasaha, jaganya gunavrittastaha, adho gachanti tamasaha. So urdhvam gachanti sattvastaha. Those who are situated in sattva, they go to higher states of existence. Urdhvam means higher. So those in sattva, they attain higher states of existence where there is more happiness, contentment, peace, and so on. Madhye tishtanti rajasaha. Those who are in rajas, they stay in the middle. Middle means between a higher state of existence and a lower state of existence in their current state of existence, where they are surrounded by people of their nature, rajasic nature. Jaganya guna vrittastaha. Jaganya guna means the lower or condemnable quality. That is tamas. Those who are situated in tamas, they go downwards. They don't take birth at the same level that they are in, but they take birth in a lower level than what they were when they passed away. Those situated in sattva go upwards, those in rajas remain in the middle, while those situated in the lowest guna tamas go downwards. Nanyam gunebhyah kartaram yada drashtanupashyati gunebhyascha param vetti madbhavam sodhigacchati. So here he says that everything, all the activities that we seem to be doing, they're actually not done by us. They are done by the three gunas of Prakriti. So Prakritehe kriyamanani gunaihi karmani sarvashah ahankara vimudhatma karta ahamiti manyate. The shloka comes elsewhere in the Gita. There it says, everything is done by the Prakriti, which is the master of the three gunas. So here, this shloka is consistent with that shloka, which says that even though it's our hands and legs and our mouth, our eyes, which are actually engaged in that activity. It is not we who are engaging them. They are part of our body, and because they are engaged in the activity, it seems as if we are doing the activity. But here, Sri Bhagavan makes a very fine point. Each of us is a jivatma, an atma in the body. We are not this body, and the body is not us. Therefore, when the body is performing many activities, we are not performing them. We are only witnessing them. But we don't know this. We don't normally think like this. We don't realize this. We think we are doing the activities. Why do we think like that? Ahankara vimudhatma karta ahamiti manyate. The person, because of the influence of their ahankara, they are attached to ahankara. Ahankara is a product of our ignorance. It's a material element, just like mind, manas, buddhi, intelligence. So ahankara is also translated in English as ego, is a material element to which we are very deeply bound, very deeply attached because of our desires. And this ahankara makes us think that we are the ones doing all the activities. But Shastra points out that we only desire. We only desire for some action to be performed. Even something as small as, let's say, lifting the hand. I'm lifting my hand now, but actually, I only desire to lift the hand. And in response to the desire, the three gunas under which I'm being controlled or by which I'm being controlled, those three gunas actually were the instruments of my lifting the hand. Similarly, my speaking, I'm speaking to you now in this class. During my speaking, my lips, my mouth, the tongue, and so on are moving, continuously moving and producing the sounds of the words. But who is doing them? Now, I would think that I am doing them, but this is pointing out that no, you are not the one doing them. You are only desiring to speak that. But the actual action of speaking is carried out by the gunas. The gunas are the ones which are moving your lips, your mouth, your tongue, and so on. Okay, this very fine technical point here. And so here, Sri Bhagavan brings that point again. He has said this earlier in the Gita, but again he brings it. And in the 18th chapter, again, he will point out that we are not the doer and we should not think we are the doer. Multiple times in the Gita, this point is mentioned. He says, if you know this, Gunebhyascha param veti. You should know that you are not the doer, but it doesn't stop there. You should know that you are above the gunas. The gunas actually are lower than you. Just like Sri Bhagavan, he is always above the gunas. We don't know that. We think that we are a part of this material existence, this body is me, and so on, because of which the gunas influence us. But when we cultivate that knowledge by the practice of dharma, appropriate activities of dharma, then we are able to rise above the three gunas. When we rise above the three gunas, then the three gunas cease to act upon us. They don't any longer act upon us. We become free from them. And when we become free from them, what happens? Sri Bhagavan says, Mad-bhavam so adhigachyati. He attains my state of existence. Mad-bhavam. Mad-bhavaha means my state of existence. Sri Bhagavan's state of existence. Saha adhigachyati. He understands and he attains. He realizes. Adhigachyati, he realizes. He realizes my state of existence. So this is the goal that Sri Bhagavan is prescribing, to go beyond the three gunas, not even sattva guna. Now currently, among the three gunas, sattva guna is the best. But eventually we should also aim to go beyond sattva guna and experience that pure state, which is even free from sattva. So when the witnesser, here the word drashta is used. Drashta means the witnesser, person who is witnessing or seeing. When the witnesser experiences that the doer is none other than the gunas and realizes himself as being above and beyond the gunas, then he attains my state of existence. Gunanetan atityatrin, gunanetan atityatrin, dehi deha samudbhavan, janma mrityu jara dukkhaihi, vimukto amritamashnute. Janma mrityu jara dukkhair vimukto amritamashnute. So he says, Gunan etan atitya trin. After going beyond the three gunas, Dehi, the living being, Deha samudbhavan, the gunas which are the cause of this body, means the body is a product of the three gunas of Prakriti. It is born out of Prakriti. through the function of the three gunas, the shape of this body and what is called as the linga shariram. This is the stula shariram, what we see, the gross body. Inside this and closer to us, the Atma is the linga shariram. So deha can refer to both this deha and the linga deha. So they are produced by the influence of the three gunas of Prakriti. So when one goes beyond that, then what happens? Janma mrityu jara dukkaihi vimuktaha. One becomes free from janma, taking birth again. Mrityu. Naturally, if one doesn't take birth again, then one will not die again also. Right? Death is only for somebody who is born. Jara, old age. And what is not written here is also disease, roga. Right? Janma mrityu jara vyadhi. Dukkha doshanu darshanam. In the previous chapter, Sri Bhagavan had said this. So janma, mrityu, jara and vyadhi or uh, arogya. So these are considered to be the four categories of miseries that we experience in this existence, right? So one becomes completely free from them. So then the doubt comes, if I am never born again, you're saying after I die, if I am not born again, does it mean I will become non-existent? I will not exist anymore? No, not at all. It means that we enter into our eternal existence. We will always exist, though without a body like this. We will have a spiritual body. There is a concept of a spiritual body where we have, just like Narada. Okay? Narada does not have a material body like us. We talk about Narada Muni, Narada Rishi. And in almost every story connected to Sri Bhagavan, you'll find some Leela performed by Narada Rishi also. Now, what about him? He is a mukta jiva, right? He's a nitya mukta, means always mukta. He doesn't get a material body like this ever. So, is he non-existent? Not at all. He has a beautiful form, right? He's always playing the veena. So there is a spiritual form. And so we attain that spiritual form and we live forever with that beautiful spiritual form. That is the goal. So when we talk about janma here in this shloka, it's referring to not becoming not non-existent, but it's referring to not getting a body like this, a material body like this, and thereby not having to experience death again, material death again, not having to experience old age or disease and so on again and again. And it says Amritam Ashnute. Amrita means the state of mukti. Ashnute. Ashnute here, the verb used in the shloka, literally means eats, right? Eats, khata hai. So what does it mean by saying Ashnute? It means he experiences. He experiences. He's completely living in that. He completely enjoys or experiences the joy of that state. Once the embodied living being goes beyond the three gunas of Prakriti that produce the material body, becomes free from the miseries of birth, death, and old age, and experiences immortality. So today's five shlokas again took us back to understanding the distinctions between sattva, rajas, and tamas and their respective effects, and also told us that we ought to go beyond the three gunas. That is the purpose, that is the goal. That is what the Gita is encouraging us to do, not just to understand the three gunas and then try to become sattvic, which is the first step. Becoming more and more sattvic, experiencing the joy of sattva guna is the first step. But after being there, then trying to go even beyond sattva guna and becoming completely free from the gunas and to aim for mukti. That is being told in the shlokas that we studied today. Now, a very important point is that Sri Bhagavan conducts himself when he comes here. Okay, this question is often asked. After all, isn't Bhagavan also a human being like us? Uh, this question comes to many people. It's a very natural question because he looks like a human being and he behaves like a human being, right? He behaves like a human being, like we just talked about Mother Yashoda going there and calling the two boys and they are not coming. They are behaving just like ordinary children. So we should understand that he is not one. He is not a human being. He comes between us, among us, like a human being because he wants to inspire us to perform dharma. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samstapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So he wants to give protection for the real sadhus, genuine sadhus. He wants to eliminate the wicked people, and he wants to establish dharma. So establishing dharma for our benefit. Why is he establishing dharma? Not because he gets something out of it personally, but because we benefit from it. And because of his compassion, concern for us, he comes again and again and establishes dharma. So when he comes like this, naturally, if he doesn't take the form of a human being, if he just comes in some arbitrary form, then how do we relate with him, right? So he comes and becomes one of us. He behaves like he is one of us, right? He becomes a king, like in his appearance as Sri Rama, the son of Dasharatha. He becomes a Kshatriya, he becomes a king, and he rules the kingdom in the principles of Dharma, and he shows how to practice Dharma, right? He accepts so many difficulties, he accepts, and he teaches us the value of accepting difficulties voluntarily. He shows that Dharma actually leads to the highest benefit. So we should know that even though he is like a human being in his appearance, he is always above the three gunas of Prakriti. He never comes under Maya. He never comes under the three gunas of Prakriti. And how do we know about him? We know about him from texts like the Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam is one of the 18 Puranas. It's a Mahapurana. And like this, there are 17 other Mahapuranams. For example, the Skanda Puran, the Padma Puran, the Vishnu Puran, the Narada Puran, Markandeya Puran, Agni Puran, Shiva Puran, Linga Puran, and so on. So many Puranas are there. So from these Puranas, we come to know about Sri Bhagavan. And of course, from the Ramayana, Mahabharata, and from the Gita as well. We know about his nature, his activities, the different things he performs, and so on. Right? So with this, we will aim to. The reason why we are reading the Bhagavatam in every Bhagavad Gita class is because we want to know about the person who has spoken the Gita. Ultimately, the whole message of the Gita is to understand him and to attain a state of existence like his. So, to understand him better and better, we are also reading the Bhagavatam. And right now, we are in the middle of the Dashama Skanda. We are reading about Sri Krishna's Leelas. And we are, like I just said, we are in a story where Sri Bhagavan is in the form of a small baby in Gokula. And uh, he's maybe about 2.5, 3 years of age. He's always playing with the gopas. In between, different types of calamities happen. The Rakshasas, the Asuras come and try to attack him, kill him, but he is saved each time. So now we will continue from that point onwards. We are now reading the story, and in the story, what happened after the previous Leelas were described, where Mother Yashoda went and brought the two children back. After some time, the elderly Gopas in the village, the men in the village of Gokula, they all met together. They meet together and they discuss the calamities around Krishna in Gokula. The immediately previous calamity was the falling of the two Arjuna trees, the two sons of Kuvera, Nalakuvara and Manigriva. They were cursed by Narada. I'm actually blessed by him through what appeared to be like a curse. They were blessed by him to take birth in Gokul as two trees, Arjuna trees. And when Sri Bhagavan comes, he would liberate them. And that's what happened. So Sri Bhagavan drags the mortar, which is tied to his waist by Mother Yashoda to prevent him from doing mischief. But that mortar gets stuck between the two trees, and the two trees crash to the ground. So the Gopas are not able to understand how they crashed, even when the small children who are playing there and who have seen it tell them that it's happened like this. They are not able to believe it. How can a small baby with a mortar tied to his waist knock down two big trees like this? So they don't know why it is happening. But now so many calamities have happened. Uh, so they discuss what should we do. Gokula here is also called as Brihadvanam. That's another name. All those areas around Mathura, Vrindavan, they're all named by different vanas like Madhuvan, Vrindavan, Bhandiravan, and so on. So this Gokula is called Brihadvana. So as the discussion happens, one of the elderly Gopas, his name is Upananda. Upananda literally also means like a brother of Nanda. Nanda is the king, an elderly brother of Nanda. He's a very wise person and he knows what is correct, what is wrong, and he knows what is good for the community as a whole. So he addresses the gathering and essentially he says that we must leave Gokul now. The place Gokula is not safe for us to live. because our children, particularly Krishna, is being repeatedly attacked. And so we must go to some other place where our children will be safe. Mukta katanchit rakshasya balagnya balako hyasau harer anugrahat nunam harer anugrahat nunam anaschopari napatat. So this little child, he's referring to now specifically Krishna, the son of Nanda. He says somehow when that Rakshasi, one big Rakshasi came to attack him, but somehow he was saved. Somehow this Balaka, this little child, was saved. Somehow he was saved. Similarly, there was a big cart, Anaha. Here the word Anaha is used. When that cart fell on him, nothing happened to him. Harer Anugrahat. And this is by the blessing of Hari. Okay? By the blessing of Vishnu. They are referring to Lord Vishnu here, Hari. Harer Anugrahat Nunam. Certainly, by the blessing of Lord Vishnu, even when the cart fell on him, when this Rakshasi came to kill him, nothing happened. Nothing happened to him. He remained safe. Chakravatena nitoyam daityena vipadam viyat shilayam patitastatra paritratas sureshwaraihi. Then Chakravata. Chakravata means a hurricane. Literally, it means a tornado or a cyclone. Air moving in a cyclic fashion. Chakravata. So, when the tornado came, he was taken up by this into the sky, Vipadam, into the day in a dangerous manner, with danger, into the sky, Vyat, by an Asura, Daitya. A Daitya came and he was taken in the form of a tornado. He was taken and he was taken high in the sky. Then Shilayam Patitaha Tatra. Then he fell down from there, from a high point in the sky. He fell down on a piece of stone, but still Paritrataha Sureshwaraihi. He was protected by the gods, or by, you can say, Vishnu himself, Sureshwara. Sureshwar, Suranam Ishwaraha, the master of all the gods, who is Vishnu. Sureshwaraihi, by Vishnu in plural here, by, you can say, with respect, Vishnu is being spoken about, or you can say by the senior gods, by the masters of the gods. He was protected. Yannam riyeta drumayoho antaram prapya balakaha asavanyatamo vapi tadapyachyuta rakshanam. Similarly, I'm not able to understand, I'm not able to comprehend how he went between the two trees, which somehow at the same time crashed to the ground, but nothing happened to him. Nor did anything happen to the other children who were playing nearby. Asav anyatamo vapi. Neither he nor the other children who were all playing nearby, two huge trees just next to them crashed to the ground, but nothing happened to them. And that also, tadapi achyuta rakshanam. That also is the protection of Achyuta, of Vishnu. Yavad outpattiko rishto vrajam nabhibhaveditaha tavat balanupadaya yasyamonyatra sanugaha yavad outpatiko rishto vrajam nabhibhaveditaha tavad balanupadaya yasyamonyatra sanugaha. So he says, now everything has, well, a lot of things have happened, things could have gone, things could have become very unfortunate, but nothing has happened. But before anything unfortunate happens, let us now leave from this place. Let us leave from Gokula and let's find a place which is safe. So let's take our children, Balan Upadaya, let's gather all our children together and let's go somewhere else, Sanugaha, with all our other followers, which means our wives, our other relatives who are living here, our priests, and the cows, all our cows. Sa Anugaha means all those who will follow us. They're all our people, they're all our entities. All of them also we will take and let us go elsewhere, he says. Vanam Vrindavanam Nama Pashavyam Navakananam Gopa Gopi Gavam Sevyam Punyadri Trinavirudham. So I know about a place called Vrindavana. It's a forest. Just like this place is Brihadvana, and we have built our dwelling here. Now let us leave this dwelling and let's go to another forest called as Vrindavana. And that place I know to be Navakananam. It is filled with very fresh, uh, you know, plants, trees, creepers, flowers. It's a beautiful place. It's Pashavyam. Pashavyaha means it is very favorable for our pashus, for our cattle, our cows, bulls, calves. They will like it because they will get a lot of good food to eat, grass, etc. They will get. Gopa Gopi Gavam Sevyam. And the Gopas, all of you, the Gopis, our wives, our daughters, and our cows, Gavam, our cows, Sevyam means they will enjoy living there. They will enjoy taking care of that forest. They will enjoy living there. And Punyadri Trinavirudham. It is also having a very, very, you can say, auspicious Punya. It is Punyamaya, a mountain. Adri means mountain. It's having a very auspicious mountain. And yes, you guessed the name correctly. Govardhan. He's referring to Giri Govardhan here. Punyadri. There's a Punyadri there, Govardhan. And Trinavirudham, which is covered with grass, Trinam, and Virudham. Virudham means plants, trees, creepers, shrubs, etc. So Govardhan is covered with very lush grass and with plants, trees, creepers, etc. At that point of time, this is little over 5,000 years back, Govardhan was actually a very tall mountain, a tall hill, a big hill. Okay. But today, over time, it is said that the height of Govardhan has come down gradually. Now, the normal modern knowledge systems will say it's because of land erosion and so on. But we say that this is a part of their Leela, Sri Bhagavan's Leela. Govardhan manifests himself along with Sri Bhagavan to assist him in the Leela and gradually leaves this place. After some time, there will be, at least it will not be visible. We only know the place where it was, but it will not be visible anymore. So now Upananda is telling all the other Gopas that let's go to this Vrindavan because it's got all the facilities for us to live and let's make our dwelling there. So you can also understand that at that point of time, there was nothing there in terms of human dwelling. There were no human beings living there. It was only the forest with all the different elements in the forest like the grass, the plants, the trees, the creepers and so on. And it was a very beautiful place. तत्तत्राद्यैव यास्यामः शकटान्युङ्क्तमाचिरं गोधनान्यग्रतो यान्तु भवतां यदि रोचते. And so therefore I have told you what I have to say. Now if you also like my idea, yadi rochate means if you like this idea, then let's leave today itself. Let's not delay further. Machiram means let's not delay it any further. Let's leave today itself. Adyaiva yasyamaha. Let's go today itself. And therefore get all your carts ready. Shakatan. Shakatam means cart. So get all your carts ready. Put all your belongings onto your carts. Godhanani agratahayantu. Let the cattle go in the front. Okay, normally we see these scenes where a lot of, a big herd of cattle, cows and bulls, they are walking in the front. And the cowherd who is managing them, he walks behind. He doesn't walk ahead of them. If he walks ahead of them, they'll probably not follow him. They will go somewhere else. So he goes behind and drives them in one direction. That is how it normally happens. So you can see that here also it was planned like that, that let the cattle go in the front and we will go behind them. Bhavatam yadi rochate, if you like this idea. So the other Gopas, when they heard all this from Upananda, they immediately agreed because they trusted him. They knew that whatever he advises is the best. Okay. And so wholeheartedly they agreed and they prepared to move from there. So they gathered all their elders, their women, their children, the cattle, and all the other belongings and loaded their carts. And as they moved, it is described that they played very joyful music with different instruments that they had. So they are simple people, you see. Now you would think that suppose you are told to move from your house today itself, right? That would never happen. When would that happen? It would happen if there was a war and you know that now the enemy is coming to bomb this place. So you have to run for your life, right? to leave all your belongings and run from here. But for them, it's not like that. They are simple people, simple hearted people with no particular attachment to any place. Okay, in some sense, they resemble what we call nomads. Okay, they are not exactly the nomads that we see today, but in some sense, they resemble that. They don't have very, major possessions that they were attached to. They've built a simple house, a dwelling where they can live, and they can always build another house if they go elsewhere. So they know, they have the knowledge, they have the confidence, and whatever items they are such that they can be easily loaded onto a few carts and they can immediately move, right? So they played joyful music with their instruments and they moved along with their priests, etc., keeping the cattle in the front. Then what happened? Gopyo rudharatha nutna kuchakunkuma kantayah krishna leela jaguh pritya nishkakantyah suvasasah. So this is a description of the mood as they were moving. The gopis, just now it was described, they were playing very joyful music. So to adding to that, this description says that the gopis, they were sitting on the different carts and the chariots, Ruda Rathaha, Nutna Kucha Kunkuma Kantayaha. So they are describing the beauty, the physical, beautiful appearance of the gopis. They were very youthful. Nutna Kucha means their breasts were very young. Okay, literal description means that. What it means is that they were very youthful looking. And Kunkuma Kantayaha, their bodies were decorated with Kunkumam. Kunkuma we know, right? And they were shining. Kunkuma Kantayaha, they were actually radiant. They were bright. They were looking bright. They were decorated with kumkuma and they were very bright looking. Krishna Leela Jaguh Pritya, with great affection, with preeti, with affection. They were singing Krishna Leela. They were recollecting. Okay, because Krishna in Vrindavan, even though consciously they don't think of him as Bhagavan, as God, right? We can say they don't know consciously. In their conscious mind, the knowledge that he is God is not present. In their inner mind, it is present. They know because they are pure bhaktas. They have all the knowledge. But in their conscious mind, he is not Bhagavan to them, right? So they like him as their baby, and he's so dear to them that they're always singing the activities that he has performed. Krishna Leela Jaguhu. Jaguhu means sang. Pritya, with great affection. So is this like, this is analogous to how when we have a small child at home, okay, from the time it's a baby, it grows. And as it grows, it creates a lot of happiness to the family members and to the relatives and even to the family friends who come there, right? They like to keep looking at the baby, thinking about the baby, observing the baby, all the activities the baby performs, whether it is sleeping or waking up or rolling on its side or running here and there or speaking something. Everything produces a lot of happiness. So all the time people are looking at the baby, making the baby do different things, laughing, feeling good about having that baby with them. And so they also, like we also talk about our baby, right? We describe the activities, we recollect, he did this. You know what he did like this, he did like that, she did like this. We describe it to each other, right? I describe to you, you describe to me, and we enjoy, we take pleasure in describing those activities to each other, right? Exactly like that. Okay, but here it is Sri Bhagavan himself, and they are the Antaranga Shakti of Bhagavan. So you can imagine the pleasure is much, much more in doing this for them. So Krishna Leela Jaguh Pritya Nishkakantyaha. So their necks were ornamented with golden ornaments. Suvasasaha, with very nice dresses. They were well dressed. They had good quality dresses. Suvasasam or suvasas means good dress, good quality dress. So they were well dressed. तथा यशोदारोहिण्यौ एकं शकटमास्थिते रेजतु कृष्णरामाभ्यां तत्कथाश्रवणोत्सुके. Now, specifically among the gopis, the two gopis known as Yashoda and Rohini, who are the mothers of Krishna and Balaram respectively. So they were sitting on their chariot, on their cart separately. And along with them, Krishna and Balaram, their two children, were also sitting. And they were shining. This is Rejatuhu, means they were so radiant. Rejatuhu comes from the dhatu raj, shining, radiant. Krishna Ramabhyam, along with Krishna and Rama. Rama means Balarama. So Krishna and Balaram were with them, and with Krishna and Balaram on their laps or next to them, sitting next to them, they were shining, they were radiant. And what were they doing? Tat Khatha Shravanotsuke. They were enthusiastically immersed in talking about their activities. They were talking to each other, and the two boys were hearing that, hearing them talking about their own activities. So, this is the joyful mood that is described. And so, in this joyful mood, they reached the beautiful Vrindavana. And Vrindavana in this shloka is described as Sarva Kala Sukhavaha. It's a place which always gives happiness. It's a place of Sanatana happiness, eternal happiness. And seeing Vrindavan, seeing the beauty of Vrindavan, and along with Vrindavan is Govardhan next to it, and Yamuna, which is flowing through Vrindavan. Krishna and Balaram felt so happy, and they felt that love within them increase, become even more than it is normally. Evam rajaukasam pritim yacchantau balacheshtitaihi kalavakyai swakalena vatsapalau babhuvatuhu. So what did they do? The boys, they started playing there just like they were playing in Gokula. Once they reached Vrindavan and settled down, the boys, they began to play. And as usual, they were conducting the various activities and giving a lot of love or affection to the residents of Vraja. When the residents of Vraja saw them playing like that in the mud and in the Gomutra, in the Gomaya, mixing with all that and doing all kinds of mischief, their love for them increased more and more and more. And they kept giving them love. You see, through this manner, by performing activities in front of them, Bala Chestitaihi, by their childish, very, very childish, apparently looking foolish activities, they give them a lot of pleasure. Kalavakyaihi, also by their kalavakyam. Kalavakyam means defective words or defective sentences. That's how a child speaks, right? When a small child is speaking, let's say a 2-year-old child speaks something. Now, when it speaks with a lot of defects in its speech. The grammar, the normal language, it will not pronounce the words correctly. Some words will be half pronounced, not fully pronounced, right? And we take pleasure in that. We catch on to those words and we tell them how to talk correctly, and we repeat those words, and it gives us pleasure when we encounter a child speaking words like that. So kalavakyaihi balacheshtitaihi, by childish activities and by childish speech, they gave a lot of happiness to the residents of Vraja and increased the love, constantly increased the love for them. Swakalena vatsapalau babhuvatuhu. And in the course of time, they were given the responsibility to take care of the grazing, to take care of the cows, the small cows. The small cows, the big cows and the bulls are taken care of by the elders. So small calves were given to the small children. So in course of time, Krishna and Balarama and all the other small gopas, they became in charge of the small cows, taking them out for grazing, playing with them, etc. अविदूरे व्रजभुवः सह गोपालदारकैः चारयामास तुर्वत्सान् नानाक्रीडापरिच्छदौ. So Krishna and Balaram, these two, what did they do? They would go on a daily. So this shloka, like the previous one, describes ongoing activity. On an ongoing basis, they did these kind of things. So they went to a place which is not very far from where they were staying, Vrajabhuvaha. Vrajabuhu means the place, land of Vraja, and here it refers to that particular territory which they are living in. So they would go to a place which is not very far, which can be accessed by shouting out. If their mother wants to call them, she can just shout out, "Hey Krishna, Balarama, please come back." She can shout out and they would hear and they would come back. So Aviduram, not very far, along with all the other boys. So they would go and graze these calves there. Charayama sutuhu means they went and grazed them. Nana krida parichada, along with different objects and articles and paraphernalia used to play. Krida parichadaha. Krida parichadaha means those articles used for playing. Like for example, their small mud pots or their horn. There's something called the horn which they can blow to call the cows. their peacock feather, their cap on the head they wear. So different kinds of articles which are used to play, small toys. They would take all of that and they would go along with the cows. So when the cows are grazing, they would play with these toys. Kvachid, kvachid vadayato venum, kshepanai kshipata kvachit, kvachit padai kinkinibihi, kvachit kritrima govrishaihi. So sometimes they would play the flute. They would play the flute. Sometimes they would throw things with their slings. Okay, here kshepanam. Kshepanam means a sling which is used to discharge some small stone or some objects just for play. Okay, unfortunately, some people, the hunters, use it for killing small animals like squirrels and so on. But when children play with that, they don't use it for killing animals. They use it for, you know, maybe striking fruits. If there is a fruit on a mango on a mango tree, then they would try to make that mango fall by hitting it with a small stone with the help of a sling. Okay, or just hit the stone on water. Let's say there is a pond of water, hit the stone on the water and see the puddles which form from there, and compare with each other whose puddles are the biggest, who can create the biggest ripples in the water. Okay, these are all small games that small children play with things like the sling. Kvachit padaihi kinkinibihi. Kinkini means the bracelets which are worn around the ankle, the anklets which are worn around the ankles. So with them, they would perform sounds. They would produce sounds and they would compare with each other. Padaihi kinkinibihi. They would tap their legs on the floor like dancing. They would make sounds and take pleasure in that. Kvachit kritrima govrishaihi. And sometimes they would act as if they are cows and bulls. They would behave like cows and bulls with each other, and they would engage in mock fights with each other. Right? They would run after each other. They would chase each other like the way they see bulls and cows, the grown-up bulls and cows chasing each other. Kritrima means artificial. They would become like the cows and bulls artificially and play with each other like that. So this describes the different ways in which they would play with each other in their place. वृषायमानौ नर्दन्तौ युयुधाते परस्परम् अनुकृत्य ऋतैर्जन्तूंश्चेरतुः प्राकृतौ यथा. So they would become like a bull and they would bellow. They would make those huge sounds like the way the bulls make. And they would sometimes, knock their heads against each other like the way bulls do. And they would make sounds, anukritya rutaihi jantun, by sounds which animals make. Rutam means the sound of an animal or a cry of an animal or a bird. So they would make the cries of animals and birds. They would imitate the animals and bird sounds, and they would play with each other with those sounds. And they would move around like this. Prakritav yatha, just like normal human beings. Yatha prakritav means they were not human beings, but they would behave like normal human beings. And of course, the word prakritav also means something that is primitive, something that is nomadic or primitive. So in this particular Leela, you see, unlike in the other Leelas, like his Leela as the son of Dasharatha, Rama, or his Leela as the son of, Jamadagni, Parashurama, and so on. In those Leelas, he's more formal, he follows some particular discipline. But in this Leela as Krishna in Vrindavana, he's like a primitive tribal. His behavior is like that of a uneducated, primitive tribal boy, very spontaneous, playing in the mud, climbing trees, throwing stones, etc., etc. Right? He's not having a formal education. He's not having getting trained by pandits, at least till a certain age. After which he goes to the Gurukul of Sandipani. That is a different phase of life. In this phase of life, he is behaving just like a nomadic person, like a normal human, nomadic tribal, like a tribal person. So these are the activities that Sri Bhagavan does, and today we heard a part of the Leela from Bhagavatam. We will continue with that in the next class. But again, we should remind ourselves that even though he behaves like us, he is above the three gunas of Prakriti and he is not a human being like us. So I will stop with this for today, and I'll be happy to hear your questions and doubts and comments, etc. So as we do this, we are listening to the Gita once a week, and we also hear the Bhagavatam. This is said to be the process of yoga. Yoga means connecting with Bhagavan. This is the process of Bhakti Yoga, particularly Bhakti Yoga. Of course, if somebody wants to think about it like Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga, that's also fine, because ultimately yoga means connecting with Bhagavan. And in this process of hearing the Shastra, reading the Shastra, we are connecting with him. This is meant to be one of the practices of yoga, by reading the Shastra. Reading the Shastra is one of the important practices of yoga, because by reading this, we come to know about Sri Bhagavan, his properties, his guna, and what we are with respect to him, how we can connect with him, and so on.
Good evening, Professor.
Yes.
I was reading somewhere that before the Mahabharat was took place, everybody in the Pandava team, they blew out their conch at the same time, and there was certain name that was attached to every person having their own shell, conch shell, and then they blowing it out. I just wanted to know if there's any sort of thing related to it. I mean, why is it that the name is given to a conch, and what significance does it have, if any?
Okay, that's a very fine question. Well, I'm aware that the conches have respective names. In the Bhagavad Gita, in the first chapter itself, the blowing of the conches is presented. You know, it said that Panchajanyam Hrishikesho begins with that. Panchajanyam Hrishikesho Devadattam Dhananjaya Poundram Dadmau Mahashankam Bhimakarma Vrikodaraha. So Krishna blew the conch known as Panchajanya. His conch is called Panchajanya. Similarly, Arjuna blew his conch known as Devadatta. And Bhima's conch is called Poundra. So these are the three names of the conches of these three personalities. Then Ananta Vijayam Raja Kunti Putro Yudhishthiraha. Yudhishthira's conch is known as Ananta Vijaya. Nakulo Sahadevascha Sughoshamani Pushpakau. So Nakula and Sahadeva. Nakula's conch is known as Sughosha. And Sahadeva's conch is known as Mani Pushpaka. So these names are given there, the five brothers' conches and Krishna's conch's name. Okay, but I don't know the answer for the second part of your question, which says, what is the significance of naming the conches? Absolutely no idea on that. I'll have to read somewhere else to find out. I'm sorry.
No, no, it's okay, sir. We'll be expecting next time, hopefully, some significance to it.
Just to add to the point, the other things also that Sri Bhagavan or these great personalities use, they also have names. Like Sri Bhagavan's chakra, we know, is called Sudarshana. So like that, the different objects are also named. Arjuna's bow is called the Gandiva, right? We know these also. These also have names.
Hari Om, can I just add to
Yeah.
what you said about the Shankha?
Yes.
Whatever little I know. The names of only the Shankas that belong to the Pandavas are given in the Mahabharata. And as you read the Mahabharata in different places, it is described that each Shanka has a unique nada to it. Nada, those who are aware of classical music will be able to relate to that. The quality of sound, you can take it that way. So, like when Bhima blew his conch, Poundram, his conch was called Poundram. When he blew that conch, it seems it automatically generated fear in the Shatru. So that was the speciality of the conscious which each Pandava had. So
Okay, got it. I think that sort of answers the question, because when I used to teach physics, I would tell about the quality or the timbre of the sound being used to differentiate two similar people. Like if, let us say, there's a room full of ladies and everybody says your name, you'd be able to identify your mother because of the quality or timbre of that sound. I think the conch might have been used to signify that I'm the one who's blowing out this conch. So once they'll be in unison, the Pandavas conch say, the voice that is coming, so the opponent would know that these are the 5 people that we are up against, most probably.
yes. In fact, the war situation, the war scene, which is described in the first chapter of the Gita, that gives an impression that the war started with a lot of musical instruments. The initial shlokas give that this one, and Sri Vyasadeva also says that as the Pandava army blew their respective musical instruments and the Pandavas blew their respective conches, it terrorized the Shatru. It created fear and a sense of defeat already with the with the nada which was being produced.
Saghoshodhartha rashtraanam hridayani vedarayat nabhascha prithivim chaiva tumulovyanunadayan. This shloka from the first chapter. Just after the names of the conches, it says that sound, enormous sound, it struck, it destroyed. Hridayani vedarayat means it broke, it shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. Shattered.
Yes,
sounds.
right.
Yeah. It was
so the conscious, the conscious aligned the thinking of the respective parties, like.
Yeah, so it set them up.
Yes,
it
yes.
set them up for the war. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
It's also important to note about how, as we study Krishna Leela, the simplicity in existence. As we move from tamas to rajas to sattva, existence actually becomes simpler. Avoidance of anything unnecessary, focusing only on the necessary. And in the context of Vishuddha Sattva, which is where Sri Bhagavan is and which is what we should aim to be in, there is even further simplicity. There's only reliance on what is essential, doing what is essential, not doing what is not essential, because there is contentment inside. There is complete happiness inside. The inner world is alive. Right now, our focus is predominantly on the outer world. We are all the time, our attention is on things outside of us. When I say outside of us, most of the time it's outside our body as well. Like, the different people that we interact with, our focus is on them, what they are doing, what they are thinking, what is so and so thinking about me. This is a big thing for us, what so and so thinks about me, what they don't think about me, how they regard me, or the politics in the country. Who is going to become the next president of the US, who is going to become the prime minister, who is going to become the chief minister of Jharkhand, which party will do what. So focus is on all things external, right? So even if we talk about our own body, am I good looking? So we spend a lot of time looking at ourselves in the mirror or going to the gym and trying to improve the shape of our body. So the focus is largely on the body or things external to the body, and all of them together are external world. But the Gita, it's drawing our attention, opening our awareness to what is called the internal world. The internal world is the rich world in which our pure consciousness exists. In that internal world is our true happiness. And once we are able to absorb ourselves in that internal world adequately, then our dependence on the external world comes down. That's why in the third chapter, for example, he says, Yastu atmarati reva syat atmatriptascha manavaha Atmanyeva santushtah tasya karyam na vidyate. Says one who is completely delighted in the self, one who knows how to delight in the self, in the inner self, right? Atmaratihi, Atmanyeva triptaha, is fully content within himself, that inner contentment. When that happens, dependence on the outside world goes down. There, the person may be active. The person may be active and doing all the responsibilities that they have to execute. It doesn't mean the person runs away. No, it means the person can choose whether to be active in this world or to go to some silent place and live there quietly. Whatever way, but whatever the person does it properly, the way it should be done, but always from a perspective that is coming from inside. It's an inside out existence, not an outside in existence. Are you able to follow this point? Think over it. Please think over it. This is what the Gita essentially is teaching us. It is showing us that we have a strength in us. We have an aspect of us which is much better than what we think we are. Or in simple words, we are much better than what we think we are. We don't know that. We don't know that aspect. It's helping us to discover. It's pointing our attention to that aspect of ourselves. Om Swasti Prajabhyah Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahishaha Gobrahmanebhyo Shubhamastu Nityam Lokas Samastas Sukhino Bhavantu. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Dhanyavadaha. Thank you.